Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind Podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Thursday. It is August 6th. It's 2020, and we're going to talk about these games that start at 6:05. So nice little 7-game slate. I know FanDuel did not include those 6:05 games, so 5-game slate over there. We'll talk about those games as well as we're going here. So going to break it down. Got my buddy Genie for 07. Grant, how are you doing, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing just tip top. Baseball's in full swing, basketball's in full swing, and I have no free time.
Well, what is that? Like you got a NASCAR, WNBA, tennis, esports, like you got to get it all in there.
Yeah, no, if I didn't get into it during quarantine, I'm not going to start now.
All right, let's get into the slates. You know, it can't be worse than Wednesday's slate, one of the lowest scoring slates we've seen so far. These nights happen. I have twin stacks like everywhere and Astro stacks and Rocky stacks. So like I'm ready to move on. So we're going to break down this Thursday slate and get rolling here. Yankees, Phillies, Jordan Montgomery, Zack Eflin. Any interest here in Jordan Montgomery?
I mean, he's got decent stuff. He should have enough. He should be able to pitch far enough into the game. But I don't know. Against this Phillies team, there's so many good guys against lefties in this lineup. We got Segura, you got Hoskins, you got Real Muto, so you got Kingery. All the way up and down this lineup, there's guys that can just destroy him. So even though Montgomery's a decent pitcher, I don't think I have any interest in him today.
Yeah, a lot of strikeouts in the Philly lineup, you know, when you're looking at this team, you know, towards the bottom. But at the top, you know, Segura doesn't strike out. Didi doesn't strike out typically. Jordan Montgomery shocked me a little bit in his last start. I was shocked he went 81 pitches. I think that is super good. If you're looking at rostering him here, you know, I think that he is in play on this slate just because I don't feel like we have a ton of ceiling pitchers. And like I do think he's a guy that has a ceiling. So like for that reason, he's in play. He's not my favorite. Zack Eflin on the other side, kind of a reverse splits righty that generates a ton of ground balls and doesn't give up a lot of hard contact to righties. Any interest here in Eflin?
Another guy that I'm not really sure I'm going to go with. I mean, he's in the past been a guy that has actually done something in occasional starts here, but he's going up against the Yankees. Obviously, they have a ton of firepower all over the place there. I don't know how late he's going to be in the game. He's had back issues in the past, and so that could always just pop back up at any given time here. I'm worried about him finishing the game. I'm worried about how much damage he can actually do to the Yankees, so no real interest in him.
Yeah, it's a tough offense. I don't think I'm going to target him here. I do think like you can target like high strikeout pitchers against the Yankees. I don't ever think that's a problem, but like this isn't like a high strikeout guy. Like he's going to go out and pretty much pitch the contact here and, you know, try to get ground balls. Yankees bats. I think the lefties are really good, but I also think like if you're playing the Yankees, you're probably stacking them.
Yeah, I mean, I generally don't like to target too many righties going up against Eflin, but this is a little bit of a different scenario. It's not like he has great stuff versus righties. He did hold him under a 140 ISO and under a 330 WOBA last year, but this is still the Yankees. If I'm playing them, I'm probably stacking them up. They have a 5.3 implied run total on the slate. The weather should be all right, not great, not terrible. We'll see what Roth has to say tomorrow, but yeah, I'm stacking up the Yankees. Hicks is probably my favorite out of him because we do want to target those lefties there. But anyone 1 through 9, I'm fully on board with.
Yeah, and like even if you want to go like Gardner and do the wraparound, because Gardner is in a good spot here. Gardner is a fly ball guy, so even like Gardner, if you want to wrap around the Yankee stack here. Any interest in the Phillies here?
Kepler had a 3-run home run. You're welcome. Hoskins, Real Muto, Segura, Kingery, like all the lefties, or all the righties all the way up and down. Even McCutchen there at the top. Like Montgomery, as I already noted, like he's a little bit worse versus righties than he is versus lefties. He has a larger than normal platoon split. So he's a guy that I definitely want to target righties with. And they've got some hard hitting ones. So any of the righties. And I mean, it's this game's real simple. Don't play the pitchers, target the guys with the platoon split.
All right, I'm with you on that one. So All right, moving on. We got the Reds and the Indians. Luis Castillo against Carlos Carrasco. Any interest here in Castillo?
Yeah, I have a little bit of interest in Castillo. I mean, the guy's got great stuff. He struggles a little bit with walks. He's pitched fantastic so far this year. 33% K rate, only 4% walk rate, going up against a Cleveland team that really hasn't done a whole lot so far this year. Their bats have just not been great. And yeah, like he's one of the top options on the entire slate. He's near the top of the price point, and he's absolutely worth it. There's not a ton of pitchers that we really want to use today. So he's top one, top two options on the entire slate, and you should mow right down these guys.
Yeah, I think the both these pitchers are like super interesting on the slate. Like where we're searching for ceiling. Cleveland's been awful. Like I stacked Cleveland on Wednesday, hoping that like a better matchup would, maybe light these bats up a little bit. And they look awful at the plate. The run production is way down. So like I'm gonna definitely have some Luis Castillo here. And then on the other side, like Carlos Carrasco, we know like he has been giving up more and more hard contact, giving up more power to both sides of the plate, but he still has some strikeout stuff against a team that, you start getting towards Suarez and Senzel, Galvis, like the bottom of this order. We're looking at, a good strikeout matchup.
Yeah, no, like the projected lineup has a 22.2% K rate. Again, this isn't a slate where we have a lot of guys to pick from. So Castillo, Carrasco are both at near the top of my list. I've been trying to find guys in the lower price range that I want to play, and there's just really not any. There's not a whole lot of value on this slate. So you're probably paying up near the top, which is why I like Carrasco and Castillo quite a bit. But there's a decent amount of strikeouts in this lineup here, and there he's only got 3.9 run total against him.
Any bats here on the Reds?
Yeah, I think that you can absolutely target the power bats here. So Moustakas, Castellanos, Suarez, even Winker probably, and Senzel. All these guys can hit for power. Carrasco's may have decent strikeout stuff, but he also just gives up a ton of hard contact to both sides of the plate. He had a 263 ISO to the right side of the plate and a 241 to the left side of the plate. He can absolutely give up bombs. While I will use him, I will be targeting a decent amount of power one-offs on this slate.
Yeah, like I think any of these lefties outside of Votto are interesting for one-off plays. Like I just don't play Votto. Like I'm not a huge fan. And then on the Cleveland side of things, like if you're playing them, like Ramirez, Lindor, Santana would be the three. Reyes, like if you want to make it a four-man, it's just they haven't justified stacking them yet this season.
Yeah, they definitely haven't, and I mean it could change at any given time. We know a lot of these guys on the team are pretty streaky, but I think I'm like, unless Castillo's going to come in at like 50% ownership, which it's possible it could happen, but I don't think it will. Then there's no real reason to go with any of these Cleveland bats here. They just haven't been good. Castillo's a big ground ball guy. He does walk a little bit, so if you're going to use him, I just say you do a full-on stack with those four guys and one other one as a leverage play, and just because if he gets a little bit wild, then he can get into some trouble here. But I think he's too good of a pitcher, and like if he does get beaten up, it's probably just getting hit with singles and doubles pretty much the entire game.
Moving on, we got the Houston Astros and Arizona Diamondbacks. Brandon Belak against Zack Allen. Any interest here in Belak? Belak?
Wait. Astros. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong game here. No, he's not going to go, more than 4 innings? Like, he's got decent stuff.
And I could see him going 75 pitches, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, even so, like, he's not priced well enough. Like, if he's not going to get through 5 innings, he had 40 pitches in his last outing. He had 53 in his outing before that. I don't think
both out of the bullpen for what it's worth.
Yeah, but I can't imagine he's stretched out to go more than 75. Like,
he started 14 games in AAA and 6 games in AA last year. Like, he was a starter in minors.
I know, but like this is a whole different scenario. They didn't have spring training, or they did way earlier on. I don't know. If we get news that he's going to go more pitches, then I'll definitely look into him a little bit. But as of right now, I don't think he's going to go long enough into the game where it really matters. So I don't think I can pay 7.5K for him. I'd rather go with a guy like Montgomery at 7.8K than him, knowing that he can go later in the game, because you're just not getting a whole lot of upside from him, I don't think.
I think you're right on with 4 innings, by the way. Just so you know, like I didn't mean to like interrupt you, and like I was kind of like agreeing with you. I did some research on him before we got started here. Strikeout stuff in the minors look great. In AAA, you had 12% swinging strike rate, almost a 24.5% strikeout rate. So, like strikeout numbers in the minors look good. I think Arizona, the lineup is kind of weak. If we get any kind of news that he's going to throw 75 plus pitches, I have interest. I just don't know if we will. I don't know if he'll pitch deep here. Struggled a little bit with walks against the Angels too. That could definitely hurt, as many innings as he could go. So the upside is there. It just depends on like if we get any kind of pitch count. And then on the other side of the game, Zack Allen, this is a dude with a 29.4% K rate, but the problem is like Houston just doesn't strike out.
Yeah, they don't strike out a ton, and the biggest concern with Gollin is walks. And he's going up a lineup that had a 10% walk rate on average in the projected lineup. So, I mean, it's kind of the same problem I had with Robbie Ray today. Yes, the upside's there. I'm not going to argue with him playing him in tournaments, but I'm going to probably stay away from him almost entirely. He absolutely has upside, and if we come to tomorrow and he's projected like 4% ownership, you take a shot on him. But if he's going to have 15, which there's not a lot of great spots on this slate for pitching, then I'm just going to be entirely off him because he's going to get his pitch count high. He's probably not going to go that late because of it. He may strike out some guys, but not nearly as much strikeout upside as he has against a normal team.
Like I'm a Zack Allen fan. I think he's talented. I really do. Said this a bunch last year if you're new to the podcast, but really encouraging that he threw 98 pitches against the Dodgers last time out. Like I hate the price. Like if he is 7,900 here, $1,000 cheaper, like I am hyping him up here, but 8,900 against a team that doesn't strike out and walks a lot. Like I think I'm with you. I think when you're looking in this price range, I probably roll the dice on like Chatwood a little bit more. Even like Yamamoto, who I don't love, like I know he has upside against Baltimore. So I worry about the price tag on Zack Allen. There's going to be plenty of times that I play Zack Allen on this short season, but I don't know if this is one of them. But with that said, like I'm not going to go out of my way to stack Houston here. I respect the talent for Zack Allen. Not gonna stack Houston here.
Yeah, again, mine all depends on ownership. Like Gallon is not an easy matchup. He can give up some power, especially to lefties, but there are mostly righties in this lineup. He gets a little bit wild, and like if I'm gonna play Astros, I'm gonna full on stack them, and it's mostly gonna be I'll stack them if Gollin is going to be heavily owned, which I don't foresee happening. So I'm probably, for the most part, just staying away from them. There's not a single bat that I want to target because the power lefties just aren't in the lineup at all, like maybe Toro, but I don't think I'll end up with any Astro exposure tomorrow.
I think it's the only way to play the Astros in this matchup for what it's worth. Like, if you're going to play them, you stack them.
Yeah.
And on, like, the Arizona side, like, I was saying this yesterday, I think Calhoun and Escobar's seasons are going to turn around. Like, they have really low BABIPs. They're putting the ball in play. It's just, I think, like, they're getting a little unlucky, but I just don't see myself using a ton of Arizona bats here. Maybe one-offs.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this kid has good enough stuff, and Houston has good enough bullpen behind him where I don't really see this as a high upside spot. So, yeah, I'm probably just Xing out this whole game.
All right, kind of with you. Cubs, Royals, Tyler Chatwood, Brad Keller. Tyler Chatwood has looked like, I don't want to like jinx it, but he's looked really good in his two starts. Pitched really good against Pittsburgh, pitched really good against the Brewers, and now like I'm gonna say like this is a cupcake matchup too. Like it's Kansas City in Kansas City. Like this is a spot Tyler Chatwood could start the season 3-0 and be off to the races on a really positive year for him.
I mean, he could be. I mean, he's got to be close to the Cy Young favorite right now based on only his stats so far.
So
Like,
far, Scherzer left the game after one inning today too. Like some of these big guys, like getting hurt.
I mean, he's got a 40% K rate on the season, a 2.65 xFIP. These are Garrett Cole type numbers. Going up against the Royals, so far the lineup on the year has, like, most of these guys are around a 30% K rate. O'Hearns could be in there, Mondesi, Soler. Like, there are a lot of big strikeout bats. And if his stuff is real, then he has a real chance to just absolutely mow through these guys in this lineup here. He's got great stuff so far this season. The biggest reason why he had trouble last year was because he just had no command, and he really has not walked a lot of guys this year. Like, he's walked a few, but not many at all. Like, he's absolutely been pitching out of his mind right now. And so, like I said, I'm probably paying up mostly, and Chatwood's definitely going to be a guy that's involved. And it's not like he's done this against bad matchups. Like, Pittsburgh and Milwaukee are not teams that strike out at a huge clip, and he had 11 and 8 Ks respectively against the two.
Yeah, Chatwood's my favorite pitcher today. Like, I guess I should have started with that. Like, he's my like, if I'm paying up for one guy today, it's Tyler Chatwood. So, I just don't see like Kansas City beating him deep. I don't see them beating him by doubles and singles and stuff. Like, when Chatwood's not striking people out, like, he's generating a ton of ground balls. So I like Tyler Chatwood a lot here. I think he can be really effective here, and hopefully he just doesn't walk a lot of guys like he did a lot last season. Brad Keller was out to start the year, right? It was
This is his first start, yeah.
yeah, like he was one of the COVID ones, wasn't he? One of the COVID players, I'm pretty sure. So like first start of the season, I don't expect him to go too deep here, right?
Yeah, no, I'm kind of trying to figure out if he's going to go too far. I mean, obviously, like, a lot of people, they can be out for a little bit and they can still be practicing. I really doubt with him having COVID if he's going out there and stretching his arm out too much. So
He missed almost all of camp, is what I just read on a
yeah.
report on him on Twitter.
Yeah, again, like, we're doing this the night before. We don't have a ton of news on him, but from what I can kind of tell, like, unless we get news that he's going to be around 90 pitches, I'm no chance I'm playing him.
Yeah, actually, kind of like the Cubbies really standing out here. I think the Cubbies are in a great spot. Brad Keller is a really decent pitcher, but like if we're not going to get too much of him here, and we're going to get into that Royals bullpen, there's some bad arms in that bullpen, and Keller's a guy that's not going to really blow the ball by anybody. So I think the Cubs on the road here, this is a team that we're going to be looking at on the slate.
Yep. No, right there with you. The Cubs are probably my favorite stack on the entire slate here. Like, Kansas City's bullpen's not good. Keller is an all right pitcher, but really he's not great by any means. He showed some promise at one point for a small amount of time last season. But overall, not the best pitcher in the world, and really not, like, in season shape, I would assume. And you've got bats over on the Cubbies like Bryant, Rizzo, Baez, Schwarber, Contreras, Hayward, even Kipnis and Happ. Like, I love everyone in this entire lineup, and depending on who they throw in there, you could have some cheap bats because Happ's sitting there at 3.6K, Hayward's at 2.9K. Like, this is a really solid lineup going against some really bad pitching, and they're underpriced on this slate. I absolutely love them. They have a 5-run total. They're my favorite stack on the slate. The bats that I would probably target more than the other ones are going to be Bryant, Rizzo, Baez, but I have no problem with almost anyone in this line depending on who's in it.
I love the wraparound, going Kipnis, Happ, and then wrapping it back down to Bryant, Rizzo, and Baez. With them being on the road here, you can see those guys on the bottom getting 4 at-bats. And, like, Happ has been crushing the ball when healthy, and, like, nobody's going to play 8, 9, 1, 2, 3. Like, I think the Cubs are going to be pretty popular here too. So I like the idea of, like, being different with my Cubs stack. And then on the Royals side of things, like, Soler's a one-off every day. Like if you end up in his price range and he's one of those guys, last guy in type of plays, I'd never hate playing Soler's power, but outside of him, I just don't have a ton of interest in the Royals.
Yeah, no, like, the only way I'll play him is if I don't see any way that people will be fully on board on Chatwood just because of his price. I know he's played, but, like, if Chatwood's going to be like 50% owned, then I'll play Royals, but there's nothing on paper, and they have not played well so far this year. They've been just horrible, and they don't have any real solid bats in their lineup outside of Soler, Muirfield, and maybe Mondesi. So this is a really poor lineup. Not really many great ways to stack outside of when they were almost like nothing in terms of pricing. So full on fade of the Royals for me, unless I hear some weird ownership report.
Blue Jays and Braves, Nate Pearson against Touki Toussaint. Any interest here in Pearson?
I mean, I don't think so. Like, it's going up against Atlanta. I believe that the weather over in Atlanta is going to be decent. It looks like it's going to be 85 and fairly humid. He went 75 pitches in the last outing. Actually pitched pretty well against Washington there, but like the only way they might end up on him is just because there's so little in terms of actual like arms on this slate in the cheaper end, but everything's so close to the top that I don't know if we need to go in the cheaper end, and I might just pay up for double aces in every single lineup here. So out of all the guys at the bottom, like he's probably third on my list, but he's not a guy that I really want to use here. It's for 7,300 against a tough Atlanta lineup with a 5 implied run total.
Atlanta's the top team on the slate. So I really don't have any interest in Nate Pearson. Pearson, 167 BABIP against Washington. Like, I'm not looking into that start too much here. Like, he posted an 18.7% swinging strike rate, and in AAA last season, he had a 9.4. In AA last season, he had a 12%. Like, something's going to change in this start, and I'm just hoping that, like, we can get the Braves here, and, you know, they're going to hit the ball well. Touki Toussaint on the other side of this matchup, like Touki Toussaint is a guy that has talent, but man, does he struggle with command. It's like him and Sean Newcomb are a lot alike. Like they have talent, they just walk too many guys. And I don't expect him to go like over. I would cap him at like 85 pitches here. Any interest in Toussaint?
I would if it wasn't for his price tag. He's sitting there at 8.3K, and that's just a little bit too much for me. He gets too wild, so I don't expect him to go too late into the game. 74 pitches and 67 pitches in his last 2 starts. Granted, one of them he got a little bit beat up during it. But, like, he's got the talent, you're right, but he is just far too wild, and he's going up against a Toronto team that, sadly enough, has a lot of strikeouts, but they have a few guys that can really work the count in Biggio and Shaw. Like, I don't really see myself using any Toussaint. If he was in the 7,500 range, absolutely I would take a few shots on him. But where he's at right now, it's just worth more of my time to go up to Yamamoto, to go up to Chatwood, to go up to Castillo, to go up to Carrasco. They're all in probably better spots, and they're all better pitchers that can go later into the game and don't have too many control issues.
Here's the thing. Like, when I'm looking at this, I'm going to look at it as, all right, if Yamamoto is going to be like super chalk, then like I don't want to instantly write off Toussaint just because like you look at all these young hitters for Toronto and they all strike out at a high clip. Like, and he's been really efficient against right-handed batters, and Bichette, Gurriel, Vlad, Hernandez, they're all righties. So if Yamamoto is going to be like super chalk, I have slight tournament interest in Toussaint. I do not think he's a cash game play. He walks too many people. He has too many issues when it comes to that. On the other side, though, like the Toronto Bats, like I think they're, you know, somewhat interesting here as like a secondary stack. Do you have any interest in Toronto?
I have a decent amount of interest in Toronto. Like the splits that Toussaint has are probably not or should not be as pronounced as they are. Like he's he should not have the incredibly extreme splits that he does have. I don't think so. Like looking at his pitch type, yeah, he does throw a pretty mean splitter, and that's pretty much, and he has a decent curve, but like I don't think that things are as they appear fully. I think he's a little bit more neutral, and I do have more interest in the lefties in this lineup, such as Tella, Shaw, Biggio, but I will play a decent amount of Bichette, Gurriel, Vlad, Teoscar. Like I'm playing most guys from this lineup. This is probably my second favorite stack on the slate here. I think that they can really do some damage to him, especially if he's getting super wild. So this is mostly a full stack spot for me just because he's not a type of guy that gives up a whole lot of hard contact to righties so far. I'll use Biggio as a one-off, but this is a stack spot for me, and I really, really like it.
Yeah, stack spot indeed. Like the Biggio one-off call. Maybe Tellis as a one-off as well, just for his power upside. I already said it. Like I really like Atlanta here. They're a team that I'm hoping maybe flies under the radar a little bit. I doubt it. Because the only good thing is like Albies getting out of the lineup, like frees up a couple like cheaper bats for Atlanta, so they're a little bit easier to stack here too.
Yeah, I mean, I like Atlanta. I don't like them probably as much as you do, but I mean, Pearson. Who knows how late he'll go into the game? Like he's still a young guy. I'm fine with most of these Atlanta bats. I don't love them. Like they've also been doing really poor this year. So, or a few of them are doing really poor this year at the bottom of their lineup. So I don't know. They have a 5-run total. Like they're probably going to be heavily owned, although a lot of them are priced up. So I could see them kind of going under the radar simply because there are a lot of teams with similar run totals that are a lot cheaper, and you don't have anyone to pay down with. I don't know. I'm starting to sell myself more onto it, but
Nick Marchakis is back too, man. It'll be his first game. They just activated him. Like,
oh man,
you get the opt in, opt out narrative when it comes to Nick Marchakis.
Yeah, I don't know if that's good or bad, to be honest. Like maybe he's a little bit worried about the Rona while he's at bat.
Well, he doesn't want to touch the ball, so he's got to hit it over the fence, right?
That's true. That's true. He doesn't want anyone else touching it. Yeah. I don't know. You talk me a little bit more on it because there are some good bats here, even though a few have struggled. I don't know. Like I'm not against them. It's just it's tough to pay up for them in this spot here just because of the lack of pitching.
Yeah, like it'd be interesting to see like how many people are in Atlanta here. Just no cores, I think is a huge kind of help. I do think on DraftKings the Yankees will be pretty popular. But like no cores always helps these slates. Like no Minnesota, another team that people like to stack. So, and no Dodgers, right? Like I think that's the other team that I was thinking of. No Dodgers. Baltimore at Miami, but this game's in Baltimore. Miami is the home team, but this game's in Baltimore from what I read. Wade LeBlanc against Jordan Yamamoto. Any interest here in Wade LeBlanc?
I mean, I don't want to, but he's a guy that I'm probably looking at just based off his price tag. Like he's going up against the Marlins here. He hasn't pitched great so far, but he has been terrible. He's not going to do a whole lot to destroy your lineups. If I need to pay down, this is kind of the guy that I'm just looking for because he's not a great pitcher, but he doesn't give up a whole lot here, and Miami really doesn't have a whole lot that can beat you up except for a few guys near the top. So, yeah, sadly to say I have a bit of interest in LeBlanc, mostly because of the matchup, because this Miami Marlins lineup is trash right now.
Yeah, a lot of minor leaguers in this lineup. I don't know. I could see a lot of people having the same like mindset and playing LeBlanc, and if like that happens, I probably won't partake in it. On the other side, you got Jordan Yamamoto, who is so I don't even know what to call him. Like, we'll just say boomer bust. How about that?
Yeah, he's definitely a bit boomer bust. He's got some decent stuff. Like he can absolutely mow through almost any lineup. Going up against Baltimore here, there are some bad bats in Baltimore, to say the least, that are going to end up being in the lineup. It's because of that I'm probably on Yamamoto. Unless he becomes super chalk, then I think it's worth a fade just because of how inconsistent he is. But you worry about his walks, and the guys that walk a lot also strike out a ton if they're in their lineup, like Davis and Cisco. And the guys that don't walk a lot don't strike out a whole lot. So, like, it all kind of averages out, and none of the bats are really that great. So, Yamamoto, I think this is a great spot for him. If they are playing in Baltimore, and you're right, then that's a little bit of a downgrade, but I'm still using him.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what I read. I'm pretty sure that they were staying in Baltimore to play the second half of this. So, and I just checked at bat, the MLB at bat app, and it says that this game is played in Baltimore. So, um, we'll go with that, right? Like that's all we got to go off of. So, because if I remember correctly, like Baltimore or Miami's traveling to like New York the next day, so like they weren't going to go to Miami for one game. They were just going to give Miami the home team in this game. So, anyway,
It's not like Miami's making the playoffs or Baltimore. And
listen, Miami's what 3-2 or 3-1 or something like that. 4-1 Miami Marlins. Like, wouldn't that be like the story, right? Like the Miami Marlins make the playoffs and
after getting 14 players with COVID.
Yeah, it's crazy. Any interest in the Baltimore hitters?
I mean, not a whole lot. I could see stacking them if Yamamoto is going to be chalky, but not really a whole lot of bats that I want to go with. I mean, Hayes, Nunez, like that's pretty much it. Like I just don't really want to play any of these bats. This lineup is ugly, and like it's either full stack or nothing, and that's strictly based on Yamamoto's ownership.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'll be looking at. I'll be looking at the ownership, because you can make like a Nunez, Smith, Jr., Hayes, like 3-man, Santander 4-man type of stack if Yamamoto is going to be like super chalky. But that'd be the only reason. And then like the Miami side, like I have interest in some of these Miami bats because I do think LeBlanc is going to be kind of popular. But like my problem with playing some of these Miami bats, Grant, is like they're not cheap. Like Anderson is 44, Bertie is 46. Like the guys that I want to play, Jesus Aguilar is 42. I think that's super fair. Like the guys that I want to play are kind of priced up, and that stinks.
Yeah, the only guys I want to play are near the top of the lineup, and none of them are really cheap. Blanc a lot better versus lefties than he is versus righties, even though like some of the numbers are kind of weird with LeBlanc. But I want to play Birdie. I want to play Aguilar. I want to play Anderson, maybe VR, maybe Dickerson. But like the problem is their price. It's not really the best matchup in the world. It's not terrible, but he doesn't walk a whole lot. There's not going to be a ton of guys on the bases. He doesn't get wild. Main thing is the Baltimore bullpen's absolutely terrible. So the price is tough. I'll maybe have one stack if LeBlanc is chalky, but it's kind of how this slate is just playing out. Like if the pitchers that are if certain pitchers are chalky, then you kind of just have to take a chance on stacking the other side just based off of leverage.
Yeah, this is one of those slates where you're definitely going to be pulling up lineup HQ and looking at projected ownership. I think it's very important to look at projected ownership on this slate. Don't go into this slate blind, as far as like ownership goes. I do think it's super important. So let's bring it home here. Brewers and White Sox. Freddie Peralta against Gio Gonzalez. Any interest?
Is it him or is it Lindbaum?
Is it Lindbaum?
Yeah, I think it might be. I don't know.
Move him up. Oh, he is expected. Okay, so it is Lindbaum. Dang it! I like the White Sox too.
Yeah, I mean Lindbaum's probably only going to go 70 pitches.
Yeah, he went 64, so maybe 75 to 80 here. Maybe they bump him up a little bit. He was struggling with walks in that Pirates game.
Yeah, he definitely did a little bit.
He's 5,300.
Yeah, I hate. I guess we're talking about Lindbaum now. Yeah. I hate the fact that I probably am going to play a lot of him. Like, I don't know if he's going to go over 80 pitches. I don't know if I want him to go over 80 pitches. Like, he played over in KBO, if I remember correctly, and he had good numbers over there. Wasn't a huge strikeout guy, but still projected to be probably a little bit above league average strikeout and just an average pitcher. If he's going to go far enough into the game, he's going up against the White Sox lineup. Against righties, like, everyone strikes out a ton. Like, they all have power. He can absolutely get destroyed. But that's really just none of my concern because everyone could end up striking out almost every time at bat or hitting a home run. So it's boom or bust. If he's going to be chalky, maybe I'll rethink things. But he's 5.3K. I basically am going to do all doubles, aces, or hit an ace and Lindbaum. And that's just that simple.
He's so cheap. Like, I probably have both sides of this. I might have Lindblom on a team, and I might have like the White Sox stack on a team here. Like, I like both sides. It's just, man, I like the White Sox. So I'm gonna have to rethink a little bit on like, maybe like a third team that I like today. But and I hate stacking against like the Brewers bullpen, but I thought they could get to Freddie Peralta a little bit. Gio Gonzalez on the other side of this game, I think he's super interesting here because outside of Yelich, this lineup looks terrible on paper. And like none of us like to play Gio Gonzalez, but a Gio Gonzalez is 7,500 against this lineup is super interesting, assuming that we'll see him go maybe 85 instead of 77 this time.
Yeah, it's kind of like I hate playing Gio. I
We
hate
all
playing
do.
Gio. We all hate it.
Yeah.
Like you never know what's going to happen, but this slate makes it a little bit interesting. I'm going to wait and see what lineup ended up coming out. I don't even think Yelich was in the lineup today. If I remember correctly, like the lineup was just absolute trash. And so just because of that, I may have some interest in playing him. Like I don't want to. I think I prefer Lindblom. I think I prefer a few other guys around that price range. Like I prefer Lindblom and I prefer LeBlanc. But I may, if I have money left over, like I may be forced to play Gio, but I really don't want to.
I don't want to either, but I think just looking at this lineup, looking at the strikeouts, the upside is there. But I also like if you're potentially looking at like this stack, like Milwaukee here, you can make an interesting 3-man stack here with like Healy, Garcia. If Yelich is in the lineup, you always include Yelich in your stack. Like this is an interesting little like 3 to 5-man stack you can put together with Milwaukee when we don't have like a ton of offenses to like love on this slate.
Yeah, no, there's definitely some bats I wouldn't mind using this lineup. You just kind of have to wait and see what lineup ends up coming out there because like Morrison's in the lineup, even lefties 2.8K, like Smokes 3.9K, Garcia's 4.2K. There are some decent bats in here for the price, and it's not a terrible ballpark. So my player pool is probably going to be small, and I think Milwaukee's on the other side looking in.
Yeah, I get it. It's just it's such an interesting slate. Like if there's something that you like on this slate, play it. Because there's just so many different ways to like attack this slate that like if you like something, there's a good potential that it could be like lower owned here. So just play what you like today. That's for sure. So the White Sox, man, I really like the White Sox. Like I said, I really got to rethink like my approach here. We know like Freddie Peralta is a guy that gives up a lot of fly balls and a lot of hard contact, and like that made me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm saying like that's why I like them. So like switching it up, going to Lindblom here. What are your thoughts when you're looking at the White Sox?
I mean, might use a lot of Lindblom, but I'm also going to use a lot of White Sox. Like I said, this is one of those rare situations which the White Sox have been pretty much that situation every single year for every single pitcher for the last 3 years. Like I stack the White Sox and I play the pitcher against him. Lindblom's going to go 80 pitches. Like I don't really want to face that Milwaukee bullpen. So if Lindblom's going to go 80 pitches, it looks like, then I'm going to be stacking up the White Sox a bit. Any one of these guys can hit a bomb. Like they got Robert, they got Mercado, Abreu, Grandal, Jimenez, Mazzara. Like everyone in this lineup is just tons of power. So I have no problem with stacking up the White Sox. I have no problem with using any of them as one-off bats. I mostly want to use Lindblom because of the strikeout upside on this and his price tag on a slate where there's not any other good pitching options.
It is a interesting slate. I think that's the easiest way to check it out, right? Like say it's just an interesting slate.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Underdog Fantasy Sports from the minds behind the Draft app. NFL Best Ball is a fun set it and forget it format. They have an app on iOS and Android. Best Ball leagues from $3 to $100, including their signature Best Ball Mania tournament. $25 entry, $1 million prize pool with $200,000 to the winner. Be on the lookout for live draft shows on RotoGrinders. Pretty sure we have one on Thursday. Check them out at underdogfantasy.com or download the app today and start your NFL drafting now. Let's play the morning grind game, and we'll get out of here. It's a fun one for the morning grind game. No cores, lot to talk about. Under 8K to get 6 or more strikeouts. Who are you going with?
I'm going Lindbaum. Maybe he gets up 4 home runs during that span.
You hope so, right?
Yeah. It's a win-win.
Yeah, unless you're playing him, right? Under 8K. Give me Gio Gonzalez. God, it's so ugly. Over 8K to score under 15. Who's your bust at the top today?
Toussaint.
All right. Man, it's tough. I think all these guys get over 15. I'm going to go Yamamoto. Just if he's off, he's off. But I think all those guys get over 15. Over 4K to hit a home run. Who do you like today to hit a home run?
Chris Bryant.
We're going to go double.
Yeah, Chris Bryant.
Double Cubs today. I'm going to go with Anthony Rizzo. Double Cubbies. Under 4K to get 2 hits.
Rowdy Tellez.
All right. I'm going to go full-on Cubs again, and I'm going to say Ian Happ. Stack to score 6 or more runs. Who do you got?
I want to say the Cubs, but I'm just going to go with the Blue Jays.
All right. We're going to go to the same game because I'm going to go Atlanta. Anything standing out to you, over, under, anything like that to get us started? There's not a ton of them out yet.
Over 9 for the Atlanta game. We both like those stacks.
Yeah. That's what I was going to go with, too. Give me... Man. Give me the under in the White Sox game. Because I know I'm going to stack that game until I'm going to kind of hedge here. Chicago under 9 in that game. So, Grant, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Pay attention to ownership tomorrow.
It's so huge tomorrow. Like, I know I'm doing the Grinders live show Thursday today, and I'll be highlighting that on the show a lot because I think this slate is really dictated by ownership.
Yep.
All right, well, that's going to wrap it up here for Thursday. We'll be back Friday talking some more baseball. Good luck in your contest, and we'll see you then.
Take it.